Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mitchell Millennial podcast. Today we have a couple of topics to talk about, including switching from iOS to MIUI. And before we jump into that, or talking about the brand new Redmi AirDots, look that up. I want to go ahead and thank everyone that supports and helps make this show possible. Without you guys using my affiliate links and sharing my stuff, we couldn't keep it going. And the money that we make from affiliate links goes towards buying more devices to use in content to talk about with stuff like this. So thanks to all you guys. Also, if you're on Telegram, go ahead, join the Telegram community. It's where we talk about all kinds of stuff, Xiaomi related, Android related, and we are just going to jump into the podcast. The first thing that we have is the new Redmi AirDots. And today we have my girlfriend who is going to be talking to us about some other stuff a little bit later in the show. But real fast, what are the specs on the Redmi AirDots? We got, what is it? We are looking at an MSRP of essentially $15 in China. We've got a 300 milliamp hour battery in the charging case, which is similar in size, and I can probably check it with the battery that I have in my current pair of AirDots, the normal AirDots. Let's see, we have 4 hours on their own and up to 12 hours of playtime with the case. And to be honest with you guys, these Redmi buds, they look like a cross between the Mi AirDots, which I have, and the QCY in-ear headphones. Earlier in this podcast, I think it was episode 2 or episode 3, we talked about QCY being a Xiaomi subsidiary brand, or a brand that Xiaomi has invested a lot in. And so with that said, it's expected that Xiaomi or the Redmi brand would be using technology or using similar designs to that of stuff that QCY would have. So it's looking like these are a cross between some QCY buds, and the current AirDots that we have. Does it say when they will go on sale? Oh.
From April 9th?
Yeah. So
in China?
Okay, so we're looking at an April 9th release date, so we got another couple of weeks. And let's see. We're not going to have active noise cancellation. It's going to be compatible with Siri, a 40 milliamp hour battery. So the same size battery that's in the regular Mi AirDots. And
it's available in black.
Available in black, which is a big deal. But it's looking like it looks like they're only going to have the HFP, A2DP, HSP, and AVRCP protocols. So no AAC audio codec. For those that aren't familiar, the AAC audio codec was essentially Apple's response to the MP3 when digital music kind of began to get really popular, and Apple introduced their AAC audio codec. So that is an audio codec that is used to get a higher bit rate in Bluetooth headphones, and it's just a way of compressing sound. That's all that it means. There's certain sound compression profiles that yield for better sound, some that's less delay or less latency, but we're probably not going to see anything that fancy on the AirDots or the Redmi AirDots. Next up, we have, there was the Redmi 7 was just announced in China, and the Redmi 7 is essentially kind of Xiaomi's, it's not their lowest tier phone, but it's Xiaomi's most price conscious device. And the Redmi 7's got, what is that? It's going to have a Snapdragon 632, which it seems like that's going to be an underclocked 636. I don't think that it's going to be a different version of the 625. I'm pretty sure that they've moved on from that architecture. But we got 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of storage, a similar gradient design to what we have in the Redmi Note series, a 720p display, 6.26 inches, which is pretty big for like a budget entry-level smartphone. But it's going to have P2i splash-resistant coating. It's going to be paired with up to 4 gigabytes of RAM, so the 2, 3, or 4 gigabytes depending upon it. It's going to have a 12 megapixel plus a 2 megapixel camera. We don't know what the sensor is going to be. I doubt that it's going to be a Sony IMX 366 or 363, even though it's the same megapixel count. You're going to get a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. It's going to ship from the factory with Android 9, which is pretty cool to see that Xiaomi is getting the latest OS on their device. Micro USB, which at this price point is totally acceptable, and it's kind of their lowest entry, or their most affordable model. They also announced the Redmi Go today. Could you bring up the specs for the Redmi Go?
Redmi Go.
Because the Redmi Go is a device that they're going to be bringing to the market at under $100. It's going to be kind of considered a stepping stone phone for people coming from feature phones. And it is going to have a Snapdragon 400 series processor. You're not going to find it on there. It was just announced. It's going to have a Snapdragon 400 series processor, 1 gigabyte of RAM, I think a 720p display, and it's essentially a phone that is aimed at people who are coming from feature phones, specifically in India. And it's going to be kind of, in some ways, a lost leader for Xiaomi or Redmi, so they can get people into the MIUI ecosystem, kind of a cheap way of getting your foot in the door to the smartphone game. But you couldn't find it? Let's see if there's anything that we missed. Redmi Go. So the Redmi Go is going to have a 5-inch display, a 8 megapixel rear camera, 5 megapixel front camera, 2 nano SIMs, micro SD expansion, and really this is their cheapest phone that they have. Specs on it are fine for someone who is used to a feature phone. The ability to browse the internet and do stuff on that phone is great. We've seen this tactic used before in India. And interestingly enough, they have the new Redmi Go on their global website, which is a little bit, in some ways, peculiar, being that, like, for their global website, they just put on the Mi 9, even though the Mi 9's been out now for a couple of weeks, at least in China. But they're trying to roll out this budget phone to the masses, get people on board with MIUI ASAP, and whether or not this is going to stick in India or it's going to be a device that people go for, it has kind of yet to be seen. The Indian market, more often than not, is like one of the most tech-savvy markets, and a market that everyone's kind of rushing to capture. Now that we've kind of talked about news, we are going to go into a little bit different of an area. Give me a second. So the part of the show that most of you have probably been waiting for. I made my girlfriend switch from an iPhone to MIUI. Now, first, a little bit of context, because she had an iPhone 6S Plus. It was similar to the one that Jesus had when he was crucified. That was an age joke. But it was time to get a new phone. How long was the battery lasting? You had to charge it twice a day?
I had it for like 4 days, and I only charged it for 3 times.
No, your iPhone.
Oh, iPhone?
How many times a day were you charging your iPhone?
I'm not sure. More than twice.
And so real quick, a little bit of context. I did not want her first experience to be with a Chinese version of MIUI. There's tons of reasons why Chinese MIUI isn't great. What are some of the things that drove you? So real quick, before she got Chinese MIUI, we put her on the Pocophone F1. And what was your experience like using the Pocophone? Hold on a second. Great. Well, yeah. I started over. What was your experience like using the Pocophone?
The first thing is a battery. Is great compared to my iPhone.
What about when your iPhone was new? How was the Pocophone compared to that?
I used the Pocophone for 2 days.
Yeah.
I didn't have enough time to get familiar with.
I'm just asking with the battery life. You used the Pocophone for like a week.
No, not a week.
Yeah,
the battery life.
Yeah, you used it for a week. I was using the Mi 9.
Battery life is great. It lasts for 2 days.
What else?
Or more, even more.
What else?
Okay.
What about the software?
The software, I still have some difficult to change from Apple apps to Google.
Like what?
Like contacts.
Yeah, we had to, and this is something that is not the fault of Android, and it's not the fault of MIUI. Because if you have everything on Google, you can go from iOS to Android to Windows to whatever you want if you have Google. But we had to download all of her contacts off of iCloud, delete everything off of her Gmail, and then upload her iCloud contact book. But once we did that, was there... What else about the software?
Actually, still... problem with the contacts because I cannot get it updated all on my phone now. Can you see it here?
You don't have all your contacts?
I have like 500 contacts in my Google contact book, but here you only show like few of them.
So
like 20 something.
So part of that has to do with because Google Play Services is not installed from the device, like from the get-go, because it's not like installed by default. The Google Play Services stuff kind of works a little funky. But now that we have all of the contacts up on her Gmail account, if we reset or when we reset the phone, because we're going to be putting some new software on it, which we'll talk about in a second, all that stuff should be fixed. What else?
The camera.
On the Pocophone or on the Mi 9?
Both of them are much better than my iPhone.
Like much better in what way?
When I take picture at nighttime or low light or even daylight. It's much better. The quality of the photos is much better.
What else?
The screen is much bigger.
How much? How much do you still miss iMessage?
I usually have to transfer photos. I mean, 100 photos to my coworkers, and I cannot have. I cannot do it right now. Before I have AirDrop, but all my coworkers are using iPhones, and now I have to transfer photos for I have.
What do you use? So you use
through Viber. So they have to download it and save every single one to their phones. It's kind of
why if they okay. So the thing is that something that you kind of, or at least I kind of noticed living in Vietnam, is that a lot of people
are using iPhone.
No, because it's only wealthier people that are using iPhone, or people that are like fashion conscious that are using iPhones. That like a lot of people, their first smartphone experience might be with an iPhone, like here, partially because of like the economic boom in the last like 3 to 5 years and the accessibility of iPhones. So a lot of people who are using iPhone, who live in Vietnam, aren't just necessarily like non-Android savvy, they're just non-tech savvy, like in general. Because if everyone was using Google Photos, which is free to use, unlike iCloud or iCloud services, and all that stuff would be shared instantaneously.
Yeah,
in the same way, and it would be shared across computers, even if people don't have a Macintosh computer. Like you could still have access to all that stuff on the computer.
Yeah, maybe next time I just plug in my computer and transfer them like through an USB.
You don't even need to do that. If you choose to have photos backed up via cellular, then you go onto Google Photos and then everything is there. Or if they have Google Photos, you can just share all the photos with them, and they don't have to download them onto their phone. They just have access to them.
Yeah,
so it's like at least moving from iOS, it's like for people that aren't necessarily tech savvy, everything that you know how to do is done one way, but that one way isn't compatible with not only everybody, but most corporations here are using Windows computers. So it's not like their iPhone is tightly integrated into their work computers, which allows them to seamlessly have their photos show up on the computer. It's so and the other thing is most people here are using a different chat application. Like people use iMessage here, but like everyone here uses like Viber or Zalo or WhatsApp or Telegram or Facebook Messenger. So like in America, people still use text message. So iMessage is like, I'm going from not having any features to having all these features. Yay. And then, but living overseas where like most people don't use SMS, it's like, I don't use SMS. What else? What else about the user experience?
Like switching from a same size phone to like a much bigger screen.
But the same size?
Same size.
Yeah.
It's great. Like it's great for emails and Instagram, everything. The color is nice.
Well, that's also an AMOLED display where the pixels are individually backlit. But you're going to know something like that. Anyway, I mean, the display on the Pokophone's okay. It's not a great display, but it's definitely like the similar quality like an older iPhone. What about performance? And just like speed of opening stuff. Is it a big difference?
Yeah. it's a big difference compared to my iPhone. It gets so slow after 3 years.
Yeah, part of that's the battery. What about the search integration and having Google be there for stuff? Have you noticed any of the AI and stuff like that being more convenient?
AI, I don't usually use it much, so it's kind of the same thing. We still have same thing in iPhone, so
Yeah, and
it's not a big difference.
one thing to note is that if you have an accent, Google Assistant and like the voice match isn't always the most accurate. I mean, your accent's not that thick, but it's enough that you probably have issues with Google Assistant.
I didn't have it set up in here, so
Yeah. Do most people would you say a lot of Vietnamese people use voice assistant or no?
no.
Yeah.
And one more thing, music. I used to use Apple Music.
But you also were paying for Spotify. You were paying for both, right?
I mostly used Apple Music before, and now I'm switching to Spotify.
Yeah.
And you have to pay more.
You have to pay more for Spotify?
Spotify Premium.
Compared to Apple Music? How much was Apple Music?
It's like 59,000 a month.
So $3 a month for Apple Music here?
How much is premium?
I don't know. I thought you already have a Spotify Premium account.
No, I didn't.
Oh. But you can listen to music for free?
Yeah, but there will be
Ads?
ads. Yeah, pops up.
Well, it's still free is better than $3 a month.
And you cannot skip the song or whatever.
My family has a 5-person Spotify family plan that we paid for. We used to use Google Music. But Google Music is in some ways kind of trash compared to Spotify. Spotify is great. I love Spotify. It's got like podcasts. I mean, the podcasts are trash on it, other than the Joe Budden podcast. But there's very little podcast integration. You can't have it automatically download podcasts. But you also don't listen to a lot of music in general.
Yeah, right. So.
What about switching over other apps? Like, what about switching from Notes to like Google Keep?
I used Keep before, so I still using Keep now.
Mm-hmm.
And
how about
apps,
the Gmail app versus the Google?
It's kind of the same thing. Like all the apps that I use on my iPhone, I can still find it in the Play Store or whatever App Store here, and it's kind of same.
And have you had any like weird software crashes or stuff like that?
No.
I also de-bloated a lot of the stuff off of her phone before that. Comparing the software that you had on the Poco versus that?
Like the apps?
Just using it.
I see no difference.
No difference.
No difference.
Really? Because before, at least when I was using the Mi 9, so I was using the Mi 9 for a week.
Yeah.
And I'll probably use it again for another week coming up. Well, she doesn't know that. But coming up when we get the bootloader unlock, which should be coming in a couple of days. When we get that bootloader unlock, we are going to go ahead and run MIUI EU, and it's going to be the same. I'm probably also going to install Poco Launcher, just because the Pocophone launcher I think is a lot better. You didn't notice a difference with the app tray, with the app drawer versus not having the app drawer. For me, not having this app drawer drives me crazy. I like to, at least on my phone's home screen, I have it set up like very minimal with like not a lot of stuff on the screen, just kind of some main stuff that I need to get to. And it's like set up pretty just like clean and minimalistic. I don't have any apps that I have to use really, other than like YouTube related stuff or like creating thumbnails. But the stable software updates that I get from the Xiaomi European team are like great, and they're fast. Have you had any other updates since you've been using the phone?
No.
There's been no big software updates? Xiaomi, slow to roll out, because right now she is on MIUI 10.2.150 stable, whereas I am on MIUI 10.3, which is based on Xiaomi EU 9.3.1.4 beta, which is a totally different like kind of base for it. Let's see, this is based on MIUI 10. Yeah, so it's the Chinese ROM. What's your battery life been like as we wrap this up? Did you get better battery life on the Pocophone or on the Mi 9?
Pocophone.
Have you been using the fast charger for this?
Yeah, once or twice.
And how fast is the fast charger?
Super fast.
How long were you waiting for your iPhone to charge?
Forever.
How long?
It would take like, I don't know. I plug it overnight. Because it takes so long.
Yeah. Is there stuff that you're missing about the iPhone before I wrap it up?
Some small things.
Okay, if you had, let's see, what's a comparably priced phone? Would you rather have 2 Xiaomi Mi 9s or one? Would you rather have 2 Mi 9s like that, or one? Let's see, and just a regular iPhone 10 is what, 20 million here?
A bit more.
For an older iPhone, for the old iPhone 10, the iPhone X, it's like 24 million?
Yeah.
22 million?
No, 24.
For the old one, not the XS, the X.
Yeah.
Is how much?
24.
Would you rather have 2 brand new Xiaomi Mi 9s that came out in 2019 or one iPhone 10 that came out a year and a half ago?
For sure, Mi 9.
Would you rather have 3 Xiaomi Mi 9s or one iPhone XS Max? Actually, you could probably get 4, right?
It's a different story.
For the XS Max? Would you rather have 4 Mi 9s or one XS Max?
I'm not sure.
Why? What would you want? What would be better about the Apple experience?
Consider the fact that all of my friends and coworkers are using iPhone, and I don't know. I have to use the XS Max for a week. See, maybe I still miss the small things that is better in iPhones.
Okay. And what's the one of the small things?
Like I already tell you, Like if
You told me, you didn't tell anyone else.
yeah, like when you have to go to Viber and get the phone number of someone and call them, it would take like 3 more steps.
You can't just like long press it and then do it,
No.
or you can't just go to someone in here and then like long. So you
See, so it's kind of less convenient than iPhone.
So
And
that's a Viber specific thing. What else?
And the 3D Touch on iPhone.
You use 3D Touch that much?
Yeah, a lot. It would make it much faster.
For what?
Like sending message, call someone on FaceTime, or DM someone in Instagram.
Takes more time on Android?
Yeah. In Pocophone you can do that.
Do what?
With a long touch.
You can do it on that phone. Like right? No, you can't. No, you can't move it. Oh no, that's because of your launcher. Yeah.
See?
Yeah. If you had Poco launcher, you could do it. That's how it was set up before. So it's like little stuff that little stuff that Apple has baked in that with Android is not standardized across devices. Would be something that would be less convenient. What else? What about the fingerprint scanner?
I have the screen protector on, so.
Yeah, but you can still use the fingerprint scanner through it. No.
No.
I used it.
No.
Yeah, you can still have it set up.
No,
it's
you
just
cannot.
it's not as accurate.
No, you cannot.
I had set up the fingerprint scanner with the screen protector on. Well, then take the screen protector off. That's something that I think that we're going to see being a bigger issue a lot with Samsung devices, because the Samsung's got the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner, and through a screen protector, you're going to run into issues with that. But because the Xiaomi one is like a camera fingerprint scanner, it's going to be less of an issue. Something in general, though, is having nails and using a fingerprint scanner is going to be a little bit harder for you. How is the fingerprint scanner on the Pocophone?
It's super fast.
Yeah.
Super fast.
That's something that I kind of feel is like a bigger conversation about how manufacturers are doing things that make our phones like in some ways worse communication devices in search of like making the device slimmer and thinner and more visually appealing for having what was that?
It works. The
yeah, I told you the fingerprint scanner works.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, I in some ways if Xiaomi had given us like a slightly thicker phone, right, and like less of a camera bump, we probably could have had like a 36 or 3800 milliamp hour battery in here, which would have been a 2-day battery life on this phone. If you had an extra 3 hours of screen on time, it would be almost 2 days.
Yeah, it will be 2 days.
It would be a 2-day battery.
Yeah.
It would be 2 days. So, in regards to making devices better or worse to use, obviously buying an iPhone here in Vietnam, it's more expensive than it is in other countries. And this is kind of a glimpse into reasons why companies like Xiaomi, Vivo, OnePlus are trying so hard to infiltrate these developing markets. Because as you can see, when Apple gets you in their death grips, just based on not knowing other ways to do stuff or not having accessibility to it, they kind of hold you to it. And one thing that we see here a lot, and this is a lot with women specifically too, it seems like most women in this country would rather have an iPhone 5 SE than like a Samsung Galaxy S9. Right?
Yeah.
Right? And so making that kind of like first impression and stuff like that with users is a big reason why we see companies like Xiaomi launching their $60 smartphone. Or why we see companies trying to use things like camera beautification option lighting stuff for selfies, because in a country like Vietnam, the difference between a 19-year-old girl that makes $5 an hour buying an iPhone 5 SE and buying a Redmi Note 7, right, could literally be the difference in camera, because like things like that here matter considerably more to consumers. Things like how good is the front-facing selfie camera? How good is this camera? Because like ultimately, if you're gonna remove someone from her group of friends and like not give her iPhone 5 SE or 5 or whatever, like the camera has to be way fucking better than the iPhone does, because that's something that's like tangible, because when she's with her group of friends, they're going to say, use your camera to take the picture, because like you have the best camera on a phone. So it's kind of markets like this that are pushing manufacturers to give us like these really good performing cameras, or cameras with all these features at a lower price segment, is because that is like a tangible benefit that you can see as a consumer, right? And that's even for you, that's one of the first things that you show your coworkers, right?
Yeah, right.
Is the camera, right? It's not like the software,
Yeah.
right? It's the camera.
Yeah.
And what's the reaction that you get from your coworkers when you show them pictures?
I have to take a lot of pictures for work, and
You use the wide angle camera a lot, don't you?
Yeah. And now when they have to go around the hotel and take photos, they just use my phone.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just like a little.
Did I just say my phone?
Yeah, the phone you still have to pay me back for. So that's just like a little kind of glimpse into what the experience is like for someone who is moving from iOS to MIUI.
It's not official yet.
I'm going to be listing her phone up for sale maybe I'll already have it sold. But that's something that I just wanted to share with you guys. A little perspective like that. Someone else's point of view. I think stuff like that's kind of interesting. Normally, I know that most of the time my content is made for like hardcore Xiaomi enthusiasts, but that's the market we have to win, guys, if we want to take over the world. So I'm going to rock out on that note. Thanks again for supporting me. Let me know where you listen to this podcast. If you listen to it on Spotify or on another podcast app, that's awesome. Till next time, guys, it's been Mitchell coming to you from Hanoi. I'm out.